When you are starting out with realistic drawings, it might be a bit confusing figuring out which materials to shade with, the techniques to shade, and what about blending? Should I blend? So in this video, we are going to go through some simple shading basics for beginners. Coming up! First, you will need some pencils. Well, of course, you're going to need pencils if you are going to shade, but pencils are usually distinguished according to their darkness. So, the higher the number on a pencil, the darker the pencil will be. We have the HB pencil, which is the lightest pencil. Well, there are other pencils lighter than HB, but generally, HB is the lightest pencil. Next, we have the 1B pencil, but it is usually known as the B pencil. Then darker than that is the 2B pencil. Then we have 3B, 4B, 5B, 6B, 7B, and 8B. Some pencil brands even go as dark as 9B pencils. I have one here that is actually 12B, and I recently just got this crazy 14B pencil. But do you need all these pencils, HB, 1B, 2B, straight to 14B just because you want to shade realistically? Well, of course, no. I stick to the even numbers, that is 2, 4, 6. I got a HB pencil, then a 2B pencil, a 4B, and then a 6B pencil. Some opt for the odd numbers, 1, 3, 5, 7, and go with 1B, 3B, 5B, and 7B, but it doesn't really matter. These are the 4 pencils that you really need to create some miracles. Now that you know your pencils, or your sword as some may call it, how do you wield it? This brings us to shading techniques. There are basically 4 main shading techniques. Well, there are others, but these are the 4 that you need to know. Arching. With arching, all you do is simply create lines that go in one direction. The advantages or the pros to this technique is that it is fast. It saves you a lot of time. It is ideal for shading large areas, and it creates a realistic image. The cons or disadvantage of this technique is it doesn't really give you a smooth skin. The harsh lines can still show through if you're not careful. Cross-hatching is just like hatching, but rather than shade in one direction, you are also going to layer in the opposite direction. The pros of this is it saves time, just like hatching. It gives a realistic image also. But the cons, the lines can also show through and may not give very smooth skin. Now, pointillism is that one technique where you will be shading with only dots. I have never used this technique because the cons, it takes a lot of time. Damn, you can spend centuries on one drawing just using this technique. It doesn't give smooth skin. Like, how do you get smooth skin with just creating dots? The dots will definitely show through in the final drawing. And it is also difficult to blend. And yeah, it has no pros, no advantages for me. Now for my favorite technique of all. Get ready, ladies and gentlemen. I present to you, drumroll please, circular motions. Yes, well, that was a bit uncalled for, but you can use this technique by just laying the sides of your pencil against the paper and shading in circular motions. You want to avoid this, but you should do this. I love using circular motion because the pros, it easily gets you smooth skin. It's also very easy to blend. Oh my. The lines also don't show through in the final image. It also creates a very realistic image. The cons, well, it might take a little bit more time than cross-hatching and hatching. It's more like a quality at the expense of time. After shading, it's now time for blending tools that will make you look cool. Yeah, I've used fabric to blend before and it definitely wasn't cool. Why do people actually blend their drawings? Very simple, so that the drawing looks smooth. And when you get smooth skin, the drawing looks realistic. One popular blending tool that many people use is the blending stump. It's simply tightly rolled paper. They sell this on Amazon, or you can also check your local art stores for this. But I actually made this one I'm holding by myself. If you want a tutorial on how I made this blending stump, simply leave a request in the comments. If you can buy blending stumps or make one yourself, fine, use that. But another tool I also use are cotton buds or Q-tips. Everyone should have this in their houses, so it shouldn't be hard to get. My favorite blending tool of all is actually tissue. Yeah, I simply fold the tissue paper and I blend with it. and what I get is nothing short of smoothness. It seems like I'm a sucker for smoothness, but really, when I draw smooth skin, it looks realistic ASAP. Now, even though you know how to blend, you've learned how to shade, you will still create nonsense if you don't apply these simple principles of light. When you don't understand how shadows and light work, you simply make shading a guessing game, and that's not what you want to do. And by simple principles of light, this is what I mean. Take a look at this ball. You notice that there are shadows and highlights. If you shade this ball randomly, you will not be able to bring out the form. So let's shade this and see the proper way to shade the ball following simple principles of light. You can see that the light is coming from this angle. So let's take note of that. Let's start with the dark area. You can see first that the ball is divided into bright parts and dark parts. Now, the dark part usually starts at around half of the ball. This is usually the main shadow of an object, and it appears in areas that are hidden from the light. They call this the core shadow. It's like a band around the ball. Let's move to the bright area, and that bright area of the ball, not that little white dot. The bright area is called the core light, or main light as some may call it. You will find that this area faces the light directly. It's not plain white, so we are going to shade it. Since the ball is also blocking the light from hitting the floor, it will cast shadow on the floor. And they call this shadow, well, of course, cast shadow. Depending on how far the light is from the ball, the shadow can be very long or very short. But let's make ours moderate. To blend the shadow to the light, we have the midtones. So let's cause that smooth transition to happen there so that the shadow blends well with the core light. And you see that bright little dot there? That is the highlight. You'll usually see this in surfaces that have some kind of shine to them. But even in surfaces that don't have shine, you'll still see these highlights there. And the position of the highlight will vary depending on where you are standing. Most of the times, the table might shine some light to the core shadow. And this is what they call reflected light. So let's add that also. These are actually the basics, and if you try to learn this, your drawing experience will take on new heights. So how about a little exercise for ya? Look at this reference. Can you tell me where the core shadow, core light, highlight, cast shadow, and reflected lights are? Pause the video and see if you can get this right. If you got this right, well, congratulations. But let's move on to some real stuff. Yeah, let's draw this nose. But not in this video. Do this. Click the video on the screen now to watch how we draw this nose following the right shading techniques, blending tools, and simple principles of light. Watch that. Yes, that. And I'll see you there.